Hi and welcome to Calling the Audible Division C podcast. It's still loud in my ears. Is it? We have Chapman here replacing an absent Eagle. He's getting by. Just figuring it out over here.
With a little help from his friends.
A little help from his friends, yeah. GM with me as always. We are running very late here. Blame Mokan and Alex Hollowak for reasons. So we will dive right in to the show here. Taking off with the recaps. First of all, the first game to recap here. Going deep, taking it 20-16 over Show Me Your TDs. We will get into all of the, I'm set up here. I got my fork, knife, plate, a nice little napkin to dig into this crow that we are about to be eating, GM, after taking it to going deep for all of last week's show. Essentially, this game was just bad all the way around. A lot of defensive stops, a lot of punts, a lot of struggles with sides, a lot of red zone turnovers. In the end, you have Show Me Your TDs getting stopped at the 2-yard line with 2 plays to go, with Mike Adana taking a sack to end the game. Not usually the way you want to go out, at least throw it up to give your players a chance.
Pressure from Payma, at least at the same time, though. So
you definitely have to bring that up.
Bear mentioning.
You definitely have to bring it up. Payma with his all-or-nothing style of rushing, really getting to Mike Adana here in this game, as he finished 13 of 28, 128 yards, 2 TDs. And on the flip side over here, Mr. Pat Wright making his return. Not the best of stat lines, 19 of 26, 116 yards and 2 TDs, but it is just enough to get the job done. GM, you can go ahead and begin to eat your crow.
Okay. Pat Wright, no INTs. Let's start with that. A good sign. This game was managed really well. Just weird. It makes sense. Like this sort of result makes sense to me that it would be close like this, especially considering Show Me Your TDs were also struggling. But nothing really changes, I find, at this moment. Like, everything still seems to be status quo. Show Me Your TDs are still struggling. Going deep are not at the top of the division and will struggle against other teams in the future. So I don't know where we're at past this. Yeah,
I mean, to kind of add to what you said, I think if I were to imagine a going deep win, this would pretty much be it, where it's a full-on defensive struggle and going deep do just enough to get the W. It does deserve being mentioned that Show Me Your TDs were missing quite a few guys, notably Alex Rivin, Alexis Gaumont, and Eric Quentin, who is their defensive leader, their defensive play caller, as well as a couple more guys. I don't know if they're on the full-time roster or not. Julien Bellavance, a big-time player, Maxime Urtubise and Simon Lamontagne will have either 1 or 0 games played so far this season.
That being said, the core of this team was there, and when you think of the players on Show Me Your TDs, the guys you think of were there. Aside from Bellavance, who plays, I guess, I don't know about sparingly, but some seasons he's there, some seasons he's not. Anthony Adana, Mike Adana, Alex David, the players were there.
Yeah, that's not at all to spare Show Me Your TDs from whatever hate that they deserved for losing this game.
Do we really hate them, though?
Well, I mean not hate, but it's more like, I think it's really clear that if anybody looking at this game going in pretty much expected a Show Me Your TDs to take it rather handedly. And they didn't do that, and that to me it's alarming. I think at this stage.
Yes, but did you think that Show Me Your TDs were going to take it because Show Me Your TDs are strong and matched up well against Going Deep, or is it just because Going Deep were slow coming out of the hole and struggle as a whole, and we're not necessarily a Div C team?
I think it's a mix of all that. I mean, having come off a game versus Show Me Your TDs, where they granted Mike struggles a little bit with accuracy, but. There is talent on this team, and they lit us up with home for the Hollandais. Granted, home so far hasn't shown to be a particularly strong team either. But seeing what Show Me Your TDs are capable of both this season and in past seasons, and knowing where Going Deep have come from, I just expected a whole lot more from Show Me Your TDs, and about what we got from Going Deep. I think this is more a matter of Show Me Your TDs losing this game more than Going Deep winning it. Now, it's not to take away from what they did here. But from what I understand, it was really about Show Me Your TDs themselves really failing to make the plays that they needed to, that were there, that there were plays to be made. It wasn't necessarily going deep, making those plays, if you will. I really think that Mike Adana just had a very bad game. To me, listen, I think that they can still recover, right? It's still early on in the season, but it just doesn't bode well, for Show Me Your TDs to have this kind of game.
So what happens in this instance?
In what sense?
Like, how do they move forward from here?
Man, I wish I knew what the answer to that question was. Honestly, I mean, if I were showing me TDs, I probably would be panicking a little bit. But I guess you just have to find a way to stay positive going forward, and I guess give Going Deep credit for coming out with the W. It's still a long season. It's only week 3. By week 9, 8, 10, we could be completely, have forgotten this game. I mean, good teams lose to worse teams. It happens all the time. And who knows? Maybe this is a turning point for Going Deep, and they're gonna, go on a run. I mean, it's FPF, right? You just never know week in and week out what could happen. That's my take on it. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add.
No, that's a fair point. The only thing that really bears noting more than anything else is that if Show Me Your TDs continue to struggle in C, they have a valid quarterback option in George Spano.
That's true.
Which they may be relied on.
But I don't know. Would Mike be willing to relieve his spot? That's a bit touchy, I think.
Fair.
I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there, if it does get to that point.
Yeah, we're talking about if Mike continues to struggle in that instance.
Right, exactly. Moving on now to teams that didn't really struggle to score points, just about the opposite of what we just had. We just talked about Nuggets taking it over Texas Bearmans 39-34. Nuggets adding Jamal Henry for this one, formerly of Concordia University Stingers. 7 catches, 72 yards, 1 TD. For the Bearmans, Khalil Kerr and Kwesi Gordon-Mall combining for 13 catches, 184 yards, and 3 TDs. But ultimately, it seems it's just a matter of Nuggets just outplaying Bearmans and, just going the extra mile. Listen, Nuggets here so far this season, 32 points one week, 13 points the next, and back to 39 points. Which one is the anomaly? Which Nuggets team Nuggets offense is the true Nuggets offense? Or is this what we should expect, just inconsistency week in and week out?
I think that's exactly it. We talked about how they've been in Div B and Div D and C. They've been bouncing around. For this team, the style of football that they play, when it works, it works. But it's just about them having to adjust and overcome adversity more than anything else. Fred Millette can sling it. But when he encounters defenses that struggle him, there's really no going back at that point. And this team as a whole really needs to just sort of get out of that rut when that happens.
Yeah, Fred Millette going 18 of 24, 222 yards, 4 TDs, 0 INTs. Just about as pristine a performance as it gets from them. Listen, I think that we obviously don't know if Jamal is going to be there for the whole season or not.
Yeah, Jamal has played 4 games in 4 seasons.
Yeah, so that definitely changes things. If he was just there as a sub, I do believe that we'll see the Nuggets offense kind of go back down towards the more mid-20s, if you will, that we should expect from them week in and week out. Just because, listen, Jamal just adds a whole different dimension to this team in terms of speed, catching ability,
field presence.
Definitely, yeah. The dude's just amazing all the way around. If they can have him for the whole season,
new dad as well. Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, I definitely think that with Jamal Henry, this Nuggets offense is on another level. Without him, I don't know. I don't know if they can necessarily be considered among the elite with just what they have without him. We will move right along then to the Bearmans on the flip side over here. Listen, I think that we expected Bearmans to take this game. They're now 1-2 given their opening week forfeit.
Yeah.
Are they in your mind the best 1-2 team at this point in the season?
Yeah, absolutely. Considering that a 5-point swing in this game and a forfeit are all that's standing from them being 3-0. So it's just a question of fully executing or the roster rules in this instance. But They're absolutely a solid contender at 1 and 2. You should be paying more attention to them than some of the others that seem to be floating around that area as well. Considering Show Me Your TDs are 1 and 2 right now, going deeper 1 and 2. Those teams that we just talked about, this is a team that is not on that level right now.
Yeah, other 1 and 2 teams, Jaeger Bomb, Friends in Low Places, and MVE. I definitely think Texas Bearmans are above and beyond really just about all those teams. If there's one team you can put money on right now to say they will turn it around and finish with a winning record and go on and compete in the playoffs, I think it has to be Texas Bearmans. No questions asked. They're just playing too well all the way around right now. You know, granted they're coming off a tough loss here, but you know Mike Roy, man, he's making plays. He's doing enough. He's letting his playmakers make the plays, not forcing anything. He has,
and that's exactly what we talked about that he would need. That these sort of playmakers just taking those first reads, letting them do their job. The defense he doesn't have to rely on to come up with those stops, and he doesn't have to worry about chucking the ball deep. He really just gets to relax and let the playmakers do the work.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Mike Roy, 12 TDs, only 2 INTs so far this season. I definitely expect that to continue for him. I think that he will. Listen, I like this team. I like this team a lot. I think they'll be going far over the course of the season. On the flip side here, we have No Name, who make a switch at quarterback this week. Call up Christian Strantola. Still fall, however, 32-21 in this game to Jaeger Bomb. Listen, I mean, the stats can really just kind of tell the story here, I think. Simone Duchesne, 13 of 21, 173 yards, 5 TDs, 0 INTs. On the flip side, Christian, 14 of 32, 180 yards, 3 TDs only, and 1 INT here. Listen, I mean, I think that for No Name, they made the right choice in making the switch away from Yannick. From what I understand, he will still be part of the team. He just wasn't there last week. Listen, with Christian, I think that they will be better. In your opinion, do you think that this one addition here will be enough now to propel them beyond this kind of bottom tier ranking where they are?
Will this one addition be enough? No. Are they on the right track? Absolutely. You see that already Christian has put up far superior numbers to Yannick in both weeks 1 and weeks 2. Incompletions like that come from playing with receivers for the first time and trying to get those timing routes down. I think that he will definitely be able to do damage as the season continues, especially with his type of football at quarterback, the sort of roll out, chuck it, or can continue to run and take off for yardage. It's going to go well with the no-name style of play. So I don't think that they're at the point where they're going to turn it around, where the other players on this roster will need to step up. We need to hear more from them. It can't just be the Christian show at the same time, but they're definitely on the right track.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd probably agree with that. Listen, for a first game with a new team, it's still a respectable showing from him. You can't expect him to just ball out with 6 TDs or RNTs in his first game with this team. I think as time moves on and he gets more used to his receivers and they get more used to his style of play, which is, I think it's fair to say, pretty different from what Yannick is known to do. I think that they'll start meshing on offense, and listen, their defense usually can be a bit more dependent on to make stops than in this one. Granted, Jaeger Bomb, I think one of the better offenses in the league, or rather in the division. So no surprise from them on that point. I think it should be mentioned that along with Christian coming to the fold here, Jonathan Grizzly as well making his first appearance for No Name this season. Only 4 receptions for 70 yards and 1 TD, but he will be key, I think, going forward, especially if he's there full time. He just adds a different element. I mean, he
versatility, speed,
everything.
And he is that type of player that that Christian will look to sort of feed the ball to. Sort of not necessarily, but sort of similar skill set to his brother Justin. And I think that the concepts that Christian uses on occasion with Justin can be used with Grizzly on No Name.
Yeah, and on the flip side here, Jaeger Bomb getting the first win of the season. We had talked about them last week as kind of our lock, if you will, or my lock to turn things around. Is this one win enough to convince you that they are the real deal, that they should be considered to be a real deal team at this point in the season?
Are they a real deal team? Yes. They have just a ridiculously tough schedule, though. So I don't know if I can get behind branding them, turning it around, or really becoming more of a powerhouse, just because it's not an easy schedule for them. So they could be another one of those teams that we revisit in a little while, saying, are they the best 4-6 team at the end of the season who have just made playoffs, or 5-5 team, depending on how things go? So they would definitely be that, but is their schedule an easy one? Absolutely not.
That's a fair point. I think I would definitely agree with that. As we now move along to the time where Chapman can finally wake up from his deep slumber, we have a segment here at Chapman, me and GM, called Eagle Thinks. We will adapt it to Chapman Doesn't Think for this week.
Chapman Eats.
Chapman Eats also works. Essentially, the concept, it's pretty simple. GM and I will ask you a question. You're going to hold off on the answer, keep it to yourself, and we will then kind of bet back and forth on what we think your answer to the question is. Only your answer matters, not the actual answer.
We will then tell the actual answer.
We will then tell you the actual answer, and we will either make fun of you for being way off or congratulate you for being on point.
I'm going to get everything wrong, aren't I?
One question here. It's very simple, Chapman. So what do you think is the number of TDs scored from the TD receptions leader in Division C?
In 3 games.
So 3 games so far. So take a second, think about it. Don't tell us.
He was so close to answering
I know,
just a second ago.
I know. So keep it to yourself when you get it. It's not that hard.
Do I have to answer? No, you guys.
No.
Just keep the number in your head.
Do you have your number in your head? All right.
I can't use like a 0.5 or something.
No, I don't think.
I don't know. Are there 0.5 TDs?
There should be for extra points if you catch enough of them.
All right, GM, I will give you the honor of beginning here.
We're just going to skip the little 1 up, 2 up, and I'm just going to say the number, I think.
All right, go for it, yeah.
I think that Chapman has guessed 9 or higher.
Wow, okay. Yeah, I'll give that to you. Okay. All right, so
8 and below is you, 9 and higher is me?
That's exactly it. Chapman, what do you got?
8.
Hey.
Holy shit.
That is pretty good,
Are you connected?
actually.
Did you look it up?
I mean, I can take a picture of my screen.
No, that's cool.
Google
so the answer
Reddit.
is 8.
That is 8. You got it right on the money, Chapman.
I don't even have an FPF webpage open anywhere.
Oh my god.
That's
I'm not surprised. It's beneficial to you in this instance, but I'm not surprised.
Not knowing anything? Yeah, sometimes.
Definitely.
So for those of you playing the home game, the current touchdown leader at 8 touchdowns is Jordan Allard.
Yeah, who is well ahead of this competition right now. I think the next one, Khalil Kerr with 6, and then everybody else has 5 and below. So essentially, we thought that it would be interesting to kind of tie this into a quick discussion, going team by team for who we believe is the main standout player, I guess the first player that comes to mind when you think of that team, the player that really essentially makes or breaks it in terms of their hopes and dreams this season. So we kind of go down the list here. GM will name a player. I'll either agree or counter with another one. Who do you have for the first team on the list, the commission?
So I'll mention Jordan Allard just because he is the touchdown leader right now. He's the obvious pick, but since we mentioned him in the Chapman Doesn't Think section, I'll just go over him quickly. He's got that chemistry with Sean Avram. He's everywhere on the field at once, big physical presence at the same time. So that would be my lock-in pick. If I have to choose someone else, it's got to be Brent Bodkin, who seems to sort of organize this team and make sure all cylinders are firing at the same time, making sure all the right places are in play for Sean Avram and the defense is well organized. So that's it for me.
Yeah, I think those are fair points. I'm going to go a bit in a different direction, I guess, for the sake of argument, and go with Matt Petrone. I think that Jordan Allard. Listen, I can't take anything away from him. An amazing player. He runs great routes, great hands, fantastic speed. But I think having played Sean Avram now twice, having seen how his system works, I think that it's the kind of system where you can kind of put in just about any above average player and he dinks. It's all dink and dunk stuff, right? So if it's kind of replaceable, if you will, in terms of who you can have in there. In his offense, he really spreads the ball around. He doesn't just key in on one guy all day long. So I think from that point of view, I have to go with Matt defensively, just because, listen, you can't teach his size, speed, his instincts, it's off the charts for Division C. You know, being a Division 1 player, he could easily he should be playing Division A this season. If he's not, listen, Matt Petrone, he's that spark defensively. I think he can really turn games around, and I think for that I will go with Matt Petrone on the commission. Next, we have the Backyard Bullies.
You can't not pick Steve Stanner. I think on defense, Steve covers so much of the field. He's everywhere all at once. He takes away those first reads. I believe he may even be the touchdown leader on the Backyard Bullies as well. He's sort of the one in the 1-2 punch for the Backyard Bullies with Rich Humes, with Vinny Galano. I think he's so good, but even as good as he is, he's still underrated. I find he's not a player who gets talked about as much as, say, Vinny or Rich, but he's just fantastic on this team.
I have to agree 100%. You know, there is so much talent on this team. They're stacked from top to bottom, but Steve, he is the heart and soul of this team, man. There are few players who will lay out play after play, be it making a catch, be it making a game-saving tackle on defense, whatever it is. You just can't go wrong with Steve. I think that he really does make Backyard Bullies. Offensively, as you mentioned, yes, he is a touchdown leader, yards leader, and listen, I don't know how a player can cover as much ground as he does in terms of going from one side of the field to the next. It's like he can, you know, honestly, he reads quarterback's eyes. He knows where they're going, it seems. The dude is just amazing. Really not the best joy to play against. That's just because he's so damn good. He's so frustrating to play because he knows where you're going, man. Really have to give it to Steve here. Blue chips. Who do you got?
Give me Sanders Armand. I think that both in this season, in their previous winter season in 4B, as well as during their sort of struggle in Division B in the spring, Sanders is just like a beast on defense. They say that defense wins championships, and I think that he's a big reason why the Blue Chips keep themselves in games. He gets those turnovers, those INTs. Another player who's everywhere on the field at once. He's got height, he's got size, speed as well, and he's just sort of that force and that threat that quarterbacks don't necessarily expect, and he makes them pay.
I think that is a good choice. I think a better one is Marcus Mitchell, who was, I think it was their touchdown leader last season. A bit less this season, but he remains, in my book, from what I have seen, the kind of the game-changing player in terms of size and athletic ability. And I think that is really key with a player like Jordan Mitchell at quarterback, whose game is essentially to run around and chuck it up. And if that's how you play, then you need to have a guy who can bail you out play after play, come up with that big catch, whether it be going over somebody, making the sideline grab. And to me, Marcus Mitchell is that guy. And I think he is really key in terms of this team's success this season.
Did you also mention that we're specifically not picking quarterbacks, and it's sort of two-way players who are
we
didn't
mention it at the beginning, but it should be obvious at this point, because otherwise it'd be way too easy. It'd just be quarterback all the way down the line. I think it's a chance to give kind of some other guys a bit more of the limelight. That is it for Blue Chips. Moving on to Junkyard Dogs.
So this really interests me because he's only one game in, but Carm Police, like you can't not pick an FPF Hall of Famer in this instance right now. Like I feel that on his own, Carm would merit this, but now being able to work with the Junkyard Dogs, being able to work with the players he has, his impact's immediately been felt on offense right away with the number of targets, the number of touchdowns he got, and just like his input in the huddle, his input on defense. Like he's going to be a valuable asset for this team, and I think it's something that we now need to pay attention to, because the Junkyard Dogs with Carm compared to the Junkyard Dogs as they were before, it's going to be different.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think the only reason I would hesitate is just because I'm not sure if Carm will be able to make all of their games or make enough to be playoff eligible. I feel like he may make maybe 4, a maximum 5 games, just because of how his own schedule is set up. I mean, listen, this is his first game this season for them, and it's been 3 weeks. Otherwise, listen, I agree with you 100%. So I'm going to go with Marc-André Lapointe instead. The stats are not there, but I think he brings a lot more than just stats. Listen, him defensively, there are no better tacklers, honestly, than Marc-André Lapointe. He just doesn't miss them. He's aggressive, and I think he is bringing a little bit more to this team as well, in terms of allowing quarterback Jason Rossi to, kind of develop, I think, beyond just what he's got going on so far. In talking with Marc-André, he's told me that he's trying to get them to kind of move away a little bit, if you will, from this kind of static, just running the same 4 plays over and over again. I think he's trying, especially defensively as well, to give them different looks, to get them, and he's a hype dude. Like, he loves to play this game. I think he adds a little bit more in terms of, they're pretty raw already, if you will. They like to get in each other's
the physicality.
Yeah. I mean,
chirpiness.
I think he fits in. He fits in very well. And I think he's going to be one of those key valuable additions to this team who may not necessarily ball out in terms of stats, but
will contribute.
He will 100% contribute in other aspects for the team. Next, going deep.
We talk about the same 3 guys on going deep, but it's got to be Julien Paiement as the rusher. This team is 1 and 2. They spend a lot of the time struggling on offense, which eats up the clock, and yet somehow Julien Paiement is the sack leader in Division C. So I think that speaks for itself. They're a 1 and 2 team, and he's the sack leader, so he's doing something great on defense. Just a lightning fast player. It changes. It changes the whole aspect of their defense, and it gives the players on this team the ability to compete in C, where they wouldn't necessarily be as strong a defense if it wasn't for a rush like this.
Yeah, we're running a bit over time, so I'm going to quickly say my own player. I think that Paiement, as good as he is, can be a bit too boomer bust for my taste. So I'm going to go with Maxime Chateauneuf him last week or a couple weeks back. I think he just brings a bit more consistency offensively. One of the few proven guys who can actually go out and make plays. Exactly. He has that pedigree in terms of what he's done in previous seasons for the higher divisions. I think with Maxime, and they're finally starting to get on the ball, he will be a big contributor to this team going forward. Show me your TDs.
It's got to be Anthony Adana. I don't think that there's many players in C, not only who are at Anthony's level, but who have progressed from where he's come to where he is now is absolutely phenomenal. He has that trust from his brother. He's just long, fast, just a smart football player.
I think you really said it all there. Can't add anything to it.
And you're short on time, so you're not going to.
Jaegerbomb, who do you got?
Instinctual player, JF Delos, jumps those short routes on defense, just a big physical body. I really like what he brings to the table for Jaegerbomb. They're competitive in C. He's a big reason for their sort of championship runs, and aside from Simon Duchesne, who leads this offense, he's really the heart of this team, in my opinion.
I agree 100%, but I do want to give a quick shout out to Francois, who seems to be finally catching out with this team. 3 catches, 46 yards, 1 TD in their game last week, as well as 3 sacks on both sides of the ball. He is really coming along for this squad. No name.
Rob White at this point. Sometimes he's on this team. He wasn't on the team in the winter, but he's been sort of a key staple, both sides of the ball. He has the upper division experience. He has championship experience, and he's got to be the one that leads this team when they need it most. Christian is definitely the new pivot, but Rob's got to give them direction now.
Yeah, I mean, off the field, because, granted, Rob's a good player, but I don't think he's necessarily the most talented player on both sides. But he does seem to be kind of the father figure, if you will, for this team, and really is kind of the one who really, I guess, keeps everyone together, brings them together, if you will. I definitely agree with Rob White. Home for the Hollandais. You put a question mark here.
Yeah,
did you figure out?
I just didn't know who I wanted to say. Like, I'm not going to say you because I don't want to.
No, I don't want to see myself either.
At this point, it's got to be Min. Min is the player who, I guess, on this roster is the most deceptive. You don't necessarily, when you look at him, you don't necessarily know what you're going to get, and Min makes those plays. He goes up for the ball. He plays like a much taller player, much more physical player than what you would give him at first glance. Smart offensively and just devastating on defense.
Yeah, it's him 100%. He has been the only real consistent force on both sides of the ball. He hasn't dropped a pass yet. The dude balls out on defense that we've known for years and years. It's good to have him back, to see him make plays at receiver after playing quarterback for a little bit. You said it all there, man. I'm telling you, this dude on a slant, no one gets it but him. That's it. Point blank, he is a great player, without a doubt. For Royals,
Give me Justin McLean. Just an absolute touchdown machine. Goes up with purpose for the ball. Pulls 2 to 3 defenders off the field at once to follow him. I can't not pick him. Plus, he doesn't have small hands, so it's not going to be Vince.
Yeah, you really said it all there. It can't be anybody else. The dude is just an absolute monster, flat
That's
out.
a shout out to Chapman for yesterday's podcast.
Or maybe.
Smash Bros.
Because Smash Bros. This is their second season, and there's only 2 players who really transitioned from the original team to this one, and one of them's the quarterback. I had to think a little bit outside the box. Give me Jonathan Garfinkel for this one. Just someone who's rapidly moving up. For like, it started out in E. He's been making a name for himself on KGP, Raw, and the different teams that he's played for. Everywhere on defense at once. You mentioned people who don't miss tackles. Garfinkel is absolutely one of them. He comes through on offense when he's needed, and just a very, very versatile player.
Yeah, not only that, defensively as well, the dude balls out. I think he had 10 INTs in the winter season. Listen, he's an amazing player. The stats aren't there yet. I don't know why. You got to get this dude the ball offensively and defense. Listen, he'll take care of it without a problem. Bearskins.
Give me Sasha Papic. Just like stupid tall, stupid fast, like just an absolutely devastating player.
But also very smart.
Oh yeah, very, very smart, very intelligent, but just absolutely a devastating player. He's a big reason why Bearskins succeed. And we mentioned that his absence is a big instance in why they struggle.
Yeah, you really said it all there. You could, give a quick shout out to Marco Bertoldi, but I think Sasha can just take over games on his own. An insane player, without a doubt. Impeccable D.
There's a lot of players to choose from this one. So I picked Dan Farrick, actually. Big player, roams around the middle. He's physical on offense. He's been catching a lot of deep passes recently too, which is not something that he's normally been known for. But he goes up and gets them. He chases it down the field, and he's just everywhere at once on this team.
Yeah, definitely a dude who's been kind of progressing, it seems, in recent seasons. I definitely like Daniel. I'm going to go very quickly and switch to Jad Aridi, though, just because when I think of this squad, I think of Jeff Rosenblatt throwing the ball. It's going to Jad. Underneath, he's just, from lower divisions, upper divisions, just sneaky good in the way that he just kind of waits there in the middle, and he'll juke out 3 to 4 dudes on his way to the end zone. I really think that he is the main guy in terms of the offensive side of the ball for Impeccable D. Nuggets.
Sam Phaneuf. I don't think there's really another option for the player that's the standout player on this team. He gets fed the ball. When the offense works, he's a big reason for it. And when they struggle, it's either the ball's being forced and he's being covered and not contributing, but he's absolutely like the focus of this offense.
I have to agree with you there. Nothing else to add. Friends in low places.
Having played it in the spring with this sort of core as they've moved up. I know them pretty well, and I'd like to say Justin Santillo. Not a player who's gotten a lot of recognition in upper divisions, but another player similar to Sasha Papic. He's got the height, he's got the field awareness, he's got the speed. He'll beat most anyone up on a fade. Like he's sort of that like tight end type basketball player that he'll just like go up and outreach, and there's nothing that you can do about it. So it's got to be Santillo for me.
Yeah, generally I think more of a lower division kind of guy, but really coming on this season, 6 catches, 73 yards, 4 TDs. Listen, they don't give him the ball a lot, but when they do, he makes
effective
plays absolutely 100%. Texas Bearmans.
I don't know if it's 1 or 2 because they're sort of
just you got to put them both. Can it be anybody else?
Quasi Gordon Moncolor. Next.
MVE.
It's Laurent Foucault, the rusher. Big, tall presence. He snaps as well, so he's always active around the play in the middle of the field, and he's sort of essential to this team. He's essential to Gab Cote. He's a big reason because you need a strong rusher, and he definitely comes in hot, and he sort of narrows the QB's vision because of his size. So there's no one who's as essential as Foucault, I think.
Yeah, I think it should be Jovan Kober. It's not for whatever reason. We already mentioned that in a previous podcast. I think it would be Lausanne if he would show up.
Yep.
Only 1 game played so far. I think by default, it's got to be Foucault. Red Wave.
In this team that's so inconsistent, Jeremy Anderson right now is the most consistent on both sides of the ball. He's the leader of this team, and he's the one who's got to get things done for them. You have options. We've talked about the depth that this team has, but it's got to start with Jeremy at this point, considering their own three.
Yeah, I think only for the sake of argument, I'd probably mention the Moses brothers, just because as consistent and as solid as Anderson is on both sides of the ball, he's fantastic. I don't think anyone can really change the game in an instant like the Moses brothers can. They can take that 5-yard hook and bring it deep. They can make plays on that deep post. Just got to get those dudes the ball, man, and just let them make plays for you. So that will do it for us for that segment as we move right along into our previews. First game here, Chapman, you can awaken once again from your slumber.
Oh, I'm doing stuff now.
That's right, as we will look at Royals taking on Jägerbomb. Very quickly, Royals 35-plus points in every game so far this season. Jägerbomb 26-plus points. Both defenses have kind of settled down since giving up big points in Week 1. Chapman, who do you got?
Have both defenses settled down?
I think so. You don't?
Not
Who
really,
hasn't?
but I like to shit on my own team every now and again.
Listen, I mean,
The Royals don't really get many turnovers.
granted they don't, but I mean, listen, you went from allowing 35 points to allowing 14 points to now allowing 19. Maybe the turnovers aren't there. Maybe it's a mix of the teams that you've played so far not necessarily being that strong. Although, granted, I think Impeccable D are up top. Bearskins, they were missing players, I think, in that game, so that'll play a role. And MV, of course, kind of struggling offensively. But listen, from what I can tell so far, it's been a steady improvement.
And Jägerbomb have, by consequence, turned things around as well. They're
Yeah.
adapting to the division a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely. So, Chapman, who do you got and why?
I gotta give you why.
Go for it.
I'm gonna go with Jägerbomb just because I believe they beat me in one other season, so that's
Yeah,
my
they
reason.
did. They did.
They did.
That's right. So Sam Hansen and I definitely have a score to settle for that. But the fact that Chapman knew something FPF related that wasn't immediately surrounding him, Peas, or the current FPF season astonishes me.
That is pretty
It
amazing.
Or
happens
food.
every once in a while, but not often enough.
I'm going to go the flip side here. I'm going to go with Royals just because I think you have the better depth, the better athletes, and with that quarterback, sling it in there. I don't think Jägerbomb will get many chances of their own to touch the football. I got to give it to you in a shootout. The commission taking on Going Deep. I think our picks are probably pretty clear, but go ahead.
So Going Deep definitely have the rusher in paiement to limit Sean Abrams' looks, but the receivers on the commission are strong enough that the first look for Sean will likely be there, and he can just sort of feed and distribute the ball based on the defense he sees and not even letting paiement get close. So this is not Going Deep's game.
Yeah, no, I think I honestly really just kind of put this one in here just to listen. The commission, having played them last week, they're not invincible. They are
Absolutely granted.
They are a beatable team. Listen, you can look at our final score. I think it was 37-19, but this was a close game from start to finish, and
It sounds like it.
And it was. And listen, we had Min. I'll explain it to you. We had Min at quarterback, so not at receiver. We had Alexis Labonté filling in. We had Chap filling in, who, as great as he is, isn't exactly the star power of FPF.
No, I'm not.
Although those PDs, baby, all about the PDs for Chap. Listen, it was a one-score game all throughout. 1925, we were driving until a red zone pick by Matt Petrone kind of sealed the deal for them. That, along with they needed a fourth down conversion to win the game. From there, a quick score when it was pretty much over, and then Min decided to play out the four plays, and he threw a pick six on the last play of the game. Listen, having played them, I wasn't as impressed as I think I should have been. I think that I was expecting probably a bit more from the commission. I think they themselves were probably expecting a bit more given how angry Sean Avram looked in our game. I just want to mention, listen, I don't know if they're going to be going 10-0 this season, and maybe it's a little trap game for them. Who knows? It is FPF Week 4. Anything can happen.
We might have some leftover crow.
But I will definitely go with it. Listen, if Going Deep take this one, man, that's it. It's over. We're coming in. We're doing something stupid next week. 100%.
I fully agree with you on that.
Red Wave versus Friends in Low Places.
I don't know. Like, on paper, everything tells you that Red Wave should be winning this. They have, like, a higher division quarterback who's very, very talented. They have playmakers on both sides of the ball, but they just can't seem to get anything going. So I'm going to go with Friends in Low Places. I think that Danny's style of quarterbacking is going to frustrate Red Wave a little bit, and that Friends in Low Places are just going to do their thing.
Yeah, I would agree with you if I didn't have to see Friends in Low Places get actually destroyed by Junkyard Dogs a couple days ago. They looked terrible. It was just, listen, it was just an awful game for them.
But Junkyard Dogs are not Red Wave.
That is very true, but nonetheless, I can't say I was particularly impressed with how they played in that game. Perhaps it was just one game. Who knows? I'm going to go with Red Wave here.
Also notable that Kev Smoot has been missing.
I hear apparently he's done for the season, so that changes things a lot for Friends in Low Places. They had Paul Lapierre filling in for them, which, listen, fantastic player, obviously, but Kevin Smoot, man, he can make plays for you. So that is definitely a tough loss for them in terms of their roster. I'm going to go with Red Wave just because I wasn't impressed with how Friends in Low Places played, and I was slightly more impressed by Red Wave. So that will kind of do it for
question
us.
Mark?
Yeah, we're going to have the question mark here as we give final thoughts here. GM, what do you got going on in your brain?
It's really quiet in here without Eagle.
It is so quiet.
And in the best of ways.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add to that. It was an interesting week. Probably another interesting week awaits us next week. That will do it for us here. Chapman, you want to cue in that awesome outro music for us?
Oh, it's the best music of all time. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's it. That's it for us here, chat.
I'm waiting for that music.
We're waiting for the music. Thank you. Sorry, guys. Eagle will be back next week, unfortunately, but also fortunately, as Chapman here enjoyed his little nap, 40-minute nap. Guys, take it easy. We'll see you next week.